Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Called Out, where we learn how to prepare biblically, spiritually, and mentally for the coming times that is coming and that we find ourselves in. And today I wanted to speak about Galatians verses 2, 3, and 4. And for the longest time, I wasn't for sure where I stood as far as my understanding when it came to circumcision, because I didn't hear a lot of believers talking about it. But I have heard certain things spoken to, such as understanding what Paul said and that Paul was teaching against circumcision. And I'm going to show you in these three verses that is not the case. Paul was not speaking against circumcision, and I'm going to show you read these verses for you. So, verse 2 says, "Listen, I, Paul, tell you that if you let yourselves be circumcised, Messiah will be of no benefit to you. Again, I testify to every man who lets himself be circumcised that he is obligated to keep the whole Torah." Well, there it sounds like Paul is speaking against circumcision, that being that we're believers in Yeshua and Jesus, that we don't have to be circumcised anymore, because if we're not, or circumcise our children because we are believers in who Jesus is the Son of God and God. And so that is not what Paul is saying. Paul is basically speaking in the general sense, and he's talking about well, for one thing, let me just say that Paul wouldn't speak against it, because remember, when Timothy came to faith, Paul had Timothy circumcised. So it has to be one way or the other. And if you look at the Bible in its context, you'll see that Paul is for circumcision. And what he is talking about here was, if you remember, the Judaizers in Acts 15, they were saying, if you wanted to believe in Jesus, you also had to be circumcised, and to find, your salvation. And Paul's saying that what is the use of Messiah if you need to be circumcised? That you're going to have to live by the whole law, by God's Torah, His instructions and teachings. And so this is what Paul is talking about, what the Judaizers were promoting in Acts chapter 15. At the beginning of it. And so Paul, its circumcision is biblical tradition. Circumcision is biblical tradition, and it's a commandment given to Abraham, given to Moses, and for all other believers in Messiah Yeshua. Why should we get circumcised? Should we say we don't get circumcised anymore? We don't have to because we have Messiah? No, that's not it. Why wouldn't we want to be circumcised? It speaks of biblically, it speaks of death to our flesh. It's a sign of death to our flesh, a reminder of death to our flesh. And that's who we have to be spiritually in Messiah Yeshua. It's a biblical tradition, a commandment given by God. And what better way to show ourselves, and just by following God's commands. His teachings are good. And because of our faith in Messiah Yeshua, that it may want us to have the circumcision, to do the circumcision, to carry on with the circumcision. Not for salvation purposes, but because it's biblical tradition and a commandment given by God, is why we would want to continue to do that. And as a reminder of our death to our flesh. So Paul is pro-circumcision. He wasn't speaking against it. And sometimes Paul's words can be tricky, but it's important to understand that he wasn't teaching against God's teachings, the Torah, against the law. He wasn't teaching against that. He was teaching that we find our salvation through the Messiah Yeshua, through Jesus Christ, and everything else comes afterwards. How we live our lives, what we follow, because of our faith and our trust, everything comes naturally in. We don't get rid of God's commandments. We don't get rid of God's words, but we embrace them. And that is what we are supposed to do as being believers in the Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus. So I hope I explained this to you okay. I just wanted to go over it briefly. And this is my second time I'm doing this video, because the first time I was thinking of all these different things, and I kind of got mixed up on my video, and when I was playing it back, watching it, I realized I had to redo it over. So I hope this made sense for you. I hope you find some benefit in it, some understanding. If you're still trying to wrap your head around it, pray about it, read other scripture, and get into that mindset of Paul as a believer in Yeshua, that Middle Eastern Hebraic mindset that he had. So thank you for watching. I'm going to try and to continue to put out some videos. I got a busy schedule coming up the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to at least try to do some shorts as much as I can. So hopefully nothing will be interrupted. So anyway, thank you for tuning in, and may God bless you and keep you.